In 1991, the quiet town of Grantham, England was rocked by a horrific series of murders. Over the span of just 2 months, 4 children lost their lives and 9 others were grievously harmed while under the care of nurse Beverley Allitt at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital. This began the terrifying saga of one of Britain's most notorious serial killers. Beverley Allitt grew up in the small village of Corby Glen outside of Grantham, born in 1968 to Richard and Lillian Allitt. From a young age, Beverley exhibited attention-seeking behaviors and hypochondria. She frequently lied about illnesses and injuries to elicit sympathy, often wearing bandages and casts for no reason. Her schoolmates remember her telling wild stories about her home life that weren't true. Despite her dubious history, Beverley became interested in nursing as a teen. She signed up for a pre-nursing course after finishing school in 1985. Her attendance was poor. She missed over 100 days due to sickness. After failing her exams several times, she was finally accepted for nurse training at Grantham College in 1989. In 1991, the understaffed Grantham and Kesteven Hospital hired the 22-year-old Allitt as a trainee nurse. She began working on Ward 4, the children's ward, despite her problematic background and lack of qualifications. At first, she blended right in, impressing parents and colleagues with her nurturing bedside manner. But in February 1991, sinister events began to unfold. On February 21st, 7-week-old Liam Taylor was admitted to Ward 4 with a chest infection. After antibiotics, he improved under Allitt's diligent care. But the next day, he mysteriously deteriorated and went into respiratory arrest while alone with Allitt, dying of heart failure. On March 5th, 11-year-old Timothy Hardwick, suffering cerebral palsy, was admitted after an epileptic seizure. He was on the mend until he was left alone with Allitt and suffered an unexplained cardiac arrest. Efforts to revive him failed. Over the next weeks, more inexplicable respiratory and cardiac arrests occurred among the children of Ward 4. The staff began to take notice. It was extremely unusual to have so many cases of cardiac arrest, especially in children who had been admitted for minor illnesses. The doctors reported their concerns to hospital administrators and the director of the nearby Queen's Medical Center. An investigation was opened, led by Superintendent Stuart Clifton of the Lincolnshire Police. When he examined the nursing duty rosters, a frightening pattern emerged. Allitt was the only nurse working during every single suspicious occurrence. On April 30, 1991, the police were finally brought in. A surveillance camera was set up outside Ward 4. When the records were analyzed, the investigators found 25 unexplained attacks among 13 children in just 2 months, with only one common factor linking them: nurse Beverley Allitt. In May 1991, 3 months after Liam Taylor's death, the 23-year-old Allitt was arrested and interrogated. Though she denied involvement, forensic evidence continued to mount against her. In November 1991, she was charged with 4 counts of murder, 7 counts of attempted murder, and 6 counts of causing grievous bodily harm. Allitt's trial began in February 1993 at Nottingham Crown Court. Prosecutors demonstrated how Allitt was present during each incident and left alone with the victims. Though the evidence was circumstantial, the jury found her guilty of attacking 13 children. On May 23, 1993, Beverley Allitt received 13 life sentences, with a minimum term of 30 years in prison. Due to concerns about her history of self-harm, she was sent to Rampton Secure Hospital instead of prison.
We are now arresting you for the attempted murder of Paul Crampton. This child has been given a deliberate injection of insulin from which he could have died. I believe you gave it to him.
No, sir.
In fact, this child has been given 3 injections of insulin on each occasion, and on each date was alone with him shortly before he suffered his hypoglycemic attacks. Yet again, this is not a coincidence, is it?
No reply.
You're smiling. Is it funny? Is it light-hearted? Don't you take the interview serious?
No reply.
I don't think it's funny. I'm sure there's 12 sets of parents now. Parents who were prepared to offer you the responsibility to be godmother to their children. Parents of children you murdered.
Have you got any feelings for them at all?
No reply.
Okay. Before we say anything else to you, though, I must tell you do not have to say anything unless you wish to do so, but what you say may be given in evidence. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. bronchiolitis pneumonia.
Happened to Paul Crampton to make him have his attack?
I don't know.
Nobody else.
No.
And this is the very points that push it towards you.
How was he given the insulin? I don't know. Was he given it via drip? Or into his body himself, or what?
Well, we've yet that to establish.
From given drugs, do you get the same effect if you injected or put through the drip?
I don't know. I've no clue. I never do it. I'm not allowed to.
Have you ever given an intravenous injection?
No, never. I wasn't there.
You were in the room on your own. An opportunity.
What am I doing then?
I don't know. What are you doing?
What have I got? Have I got something in my flipping hand or something to give him?
I don't know.
I just can't get my point through. I'm really going to give a harmful drug to a tiny little helpless baby.
So here we are, 8 people who've got access to drugs. And you have got added advantages, as we see it, if you like, in the fact that this key's gone missing, that you've
I
had
haven't got
accidents,
the key.
insulin. You don't have to have it then. You said yourself you wouldn't cart the
Yeah, but-
insulin about.
You are in a position to gain access to that insulin at the time you are the key holder.
There's a lot of people access to.
I'm not saying there isn't. What I'm talking about is you, and you're one of those persons who has access to
Yeah,
that.
I don't disagree with that. I do.
with stuff that she was saying, because we were trying our best to, particularly in relation to Paul Crampton, to talk about the insulin and the effects it had on the body and all that, but we weren't medically trained, and I think she could easily pick up on this, and on reflection tried to push us away from the actual direct questioning.
Placed in a police cell. I have to remember that this is a girl that's about 21 years of age, never been in trouble with the police. She gets all of these charges. She's laughing. She's happy about them.
During her trial, experts testified that Allitt likely suffered from Munchausen syndrome, a disorder where someone harms another to gain attention and sympathy. They characterized Allitt as psychopathic and narcissistic, obsessed with being the center of attention. Harming children brought her that attention.
It does take over your life. And yes, there are times when you go to bed at night and collapse because you're tired, and then you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and the events of the day are going through your mind. And so yes, there is a knock-on effect, and it'd be silly to say that there wasn't.
The Grantham Hospital never recovered from Allitt's crimes. The maternity unit was permanently closed. The parents of the victims called for Allitt to be locked up for life, disturbed by the relative comfort she enjoyed at the psychiatric hospital. In the decades since, Allitt has remained incarcerated at Rampton. She will go before a review panel periodically, but hopes of release are slim. Her crimes shocked the nation and destroyed public trust in healthcare workers. The families of her victims feel a life sentence of grief that can never end. Beverley Allitt slipped through the cracks of the medical system and used her position as a nurse to become one of Britain's most notorious killers. The evil of someone in a caring role attacking vulnerable children continues to haunt the country today. Allitt's name has become synonymous with medical serial murderers, her crimes a cautionary tale about those who harm instead of heal.